All right, welcome back. We're going to continue with legal matters now. The trial of 5 men accused of murdering South African rap star Keenan, aka Forbes, and his friend Tibz Mutswane. It's been postponed to the 24th of July at the Durban High Court. The two friends were gunned down outside a restaurant on Durban's Florida Road. This happened back in February of 2023. Perhaps to give us a wrap on really what happened this week, let's chat to SABC News reporter Jayde Paulse to unpack some of what unfolded in the trial. We're also going to be unpacking the legal dynamics and aspects, the merits of the case, the date and possibilities and probabilities. Legal analyst Abigail Ngobene is going to be joining us, of course, following the sentiments from Jayde. So Jayde, good afternoon. Let me start with you. It's been an illustrious week to say the least, but let's focus in on what obviously transpired Thursday in court. Talk us through those dynamics and really what was unearthed.
Well, a very good afternoon to you, Liesl, and to the viewers back at home. And, you know, for anyone that has been watching this case, it's been 2 years of back and forth. We were at the Durban Magistrates Court, where we saw the 5 accused in the matter of Ndukutla and Ndukutla and Damande, who are related, Ndi Mayeza, and the mastermind of Ngobene. They tried to get bail. All 5 of them have been denied bail. And then we saw the case being transferred to the Durban High Court, where we are now unpacking all the nitty-gritties, legal, and I'm sure Abigail and Ngobene will go in depth with that with you. But now we are at the pre-trial conference. The state says it is trial ready, and that its key evidence in the matter, legal, is based on CCTV footage and cell phone records. The application for the extradition of the 2 more suspects, the Ndamande brothers in Eswatini, is ongoing. And the trial was then postponed to the 24th of July. And we never really got a lot of information as to why, but from my gathering and from where I stand, it looked like the state was not ready to proceed. So the trial was postponed to the 24th of July, and this was really just to allow the state to engage with the defense on certain matters. Obviously, these matters were not disclosed to the court.
All right, Jayde, thank you. Obviously, speaking just to the case where it currently stands, we're looking at investigation, the trial, and, just some of the reactions, of course, from the family. Did you manage to speak to them? What sort of justice, what recourse are they also seeking? Anything on that front?
Well, look, Tony Forbes, a.k.a.'s father, has been in court throughout most of the proceedings. I think this was one of the first times that we didn't see him sitting in court. No family or relatives were present, but I imagine that once the pre-trial conference really gets kicked off, there will be a presence of the Forbes family, the mother, the father, possibly his sibling as well, coming forward and just really listening to what really transpired on the night that AKA and Tibz were gunned down on the 10th of February 2023. But throughout my engagement with the Forbes family, especially speaking to his father, Tony, they're really calling for justice. They don't believe that the 4th accused, Ngobene, is the mastermind behind this hit. They do believe that the person that orchestrated this hit and called for it is still at large.
Well, Jayde, obviously closely monitoring those dynamics, but thank you for bringing us up to speed. Of course, at the SAWA, senior reporter Jayde Paulse weighing in on, AKA as well as Tibz murder trial. It's now been postponed, as you heard, to the 24th of July. But let's get more legal opinion now following Jayde's sentiments. Abigail is going to be joining us for that. Abigail Ngobene as a legal analyst. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. Jayde brought us up to speed, really provided context to what has transpired. Is the state ready for trial? We're looking at motives. We're looking at what this also means for justice at large, that overall bigger picture. Talk us through what you're witnessing since this matter was first heard.
Okay. You remember that before court, we have the 5. The 2 are still kept in Eswatini pending the finalization of the extradition. But what one knows is and what is in the public domain as so far, we are working on the affidavit that was deposed to by the investigating officer initially when these accused persons were applying for bail. And it is difficult for one to conclusively come with a view to say whether the state's case is so strong, given that whatever they have in the docket will be subjected to all the cross-examination and be tested in court. But from what they had displayed, they showed a case that looks tight. They showed a sequence of events. You'll remember that they speak about the following from the airport, the following of the deceased up until the place where the murder was committed. They also stated that there are issues such as cell phone records where they were speaking to each other to show that there was a conspiracy. Remember, one of the charges is a conspiracy to murder and murder and all those. And there's also a charge of money laundering. There's also a charge of attempted murder. Yes. So it's difficult to say whether or not they will be able to prove that because we don't have evidence as yet that is tested. But if they have, in terms of the affidavit, their case looks tighter.
Because we're obviously trying to assess the motive at large and whether this was a planned hit. And given the lengthy processes, the extradition process that's also set to unfold, we've seen some of the other legal matters in our country. Exhibit A, the Senzomiwa murder trial. Yes. And there are questions about whether this, in fact, is going to be dragged on. Just in relation to all these other processes that have to obviously be factored in whilst the trial gets underway. What's the hope on that front for justice to come to the fore for the family?
When this matter was finally transferred to the High Court, there was so much hope. Yeah. The state had given the court confidence to say they are ready to proceed. Be whether the ones that are kept as Eswatini, they are brought earlier or later, they are ready to proceed with the 5. But for the appearances in High Court, there are 2 appearances that have happened. The state is not ready to go to the pre-trial. They promised the judge president last week to say when they come back, come high or low waters, the pre-trial will proceed. And one can only hope that that will happen so that we can see the trial date set. But what gave hope as well on the last appearance was what one can call a judicial tone or a judicial caution from the judge president who was appearing to say this matter will be set down for a term, and a term which will begin for the judge, the judge's term, to say it should not exceed that. And she issued a warning to the parties to say they must prepare themselves, clear their diaries, so that this matter should be heard and be finalized. And if that happens, then there is hope that justice will not only be seen, will only not be talked about, it will also be seen to be done, having this matter be finalized. And we have, even the accused persons have to also see their date in court and stand trial. Even the family wants to see justice happening soon.
Absolutely. And I know we are playing with an imaginary crystal ball of sorts because obviously pending the 24th, we are going to see what's really set to transpire. But if we entertain the possibility or the scenario of additional suspects being arrested, what does this then also mean for the trial and what happens from here on to?
Remember that there's an issue of a charge of money laundering. And where the money laundering charges come from is the 800,000, which was said to have been distributed amongst the accused persons. Yes. And they then said last time when the matter was moved from magistrate court to the High Court, part of the things that were remaining at the time was to follow up the source of the money, what nature of business as alleged by accused number 4, who is termed to be the mastermind, to say the 800,000 is mainly for a business transaction. So the state had placed on record to say they will follow up that 800,000. They don't rule out a possibility of a further arrest. And up until now, such have not happened. But to answer your question, should that happen, we will see those accused persons having to start at the magistrate court, apply for bail, and then later they will have to put the court into confidence that they are ready to transfer the matter to the High Court. Same applies with the ones that are kept in Eswatini. If they are to be brought back, then they'll have to start in a magistrate court and follow up. That is the sequence that will have to be followed until they're transferred to the High Court.
I need to wrap up. I want to look at the bigger picture of gun violence and organized crime in South Africa at large. Perhaps also just in relation to the restoration of trust in this criminal justice system of ours. What do you think is being reflected this time around to this case?
It's very difficult to formulate a view on that, but what one can say is to lament the state of events that are transpiring in our country. Remember that in this particular matter we are talking about, there is a gentleman who is accused number 3, if I'm not mistaken. The court was particular in the magistrate court to say the case is strong against him on the basis that he's a supplier of weapons. He is the one whose gun was used to commit this particular murder. And above that, there are other cases that were disclosed when we were hearing a bail application that is linked to you mentioned the Berea murder case, and it seems that, and these were the sentiments of the court when it was granting a judgment on a bail, to say had it not been of his participation in the murder in the entire case, this murder would not have happened. So you can imagine that these weapons are somewhere, they are in the hands of people, and they are utilized to commit such acts of brutality.
Yeah, I mean, all of this has to be proved beyond any reasonable doubt.
Yes.
And of course, the motives unearthed as well to
Yes.
determine the degree and category of it. But Abigail, we're out of time. Thank you. I know that we'll continue to monitor those developments. We're edging closer to the 24th, and of course, we'll see what transpires from here into. But Abigail Ngobene, as a legal analyst, as well as Jayde, Paulse reporter, weighing in, and of course, what transpired finding AK and Tibz murder, that case obviously being heard, and the trial now being postponed to the 24th of July. Again, thank you to both of them for joining us and for weighing in.